Hello and welcome back to the Howarth Timber and Building Supplies 1840 podcast. I'm your host, Paul Bullivant, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Ben Jewell, who's the Northern Regional Manager for Bradstone, a member of Holcim.
Hi, Paul.
Welcome, Ben. Today's episode is entitled Poacher Turned Gamekeeper, which is quite cryptic. But when Ben introduces himself in a few moments, you're going to hear from him that his history is half working for builders merchants and half working for manufacturers. So I've asked Ben to come and join us today to talk about what his thoughts were of suppliers when he worked for builders merchants and what he now thinks of merchants now he works for a supplier. So it's a real poison challenge, this, and I'm really interested to see how honest he's going to be with his views from both sides.
I'll be very honest.
I know you will, because I've got the questions to make you honest. There's two other things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about landscaping.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the changes that have gone on in Holcim just recently. We're going to talk to him about what the forecast is for the landscaping season. And then to finish off, we're going to go severely off-piste for the first time ever in the 1840 podcast. And we're going to be talking about the impact of social media on young people.
Yep.
And that's a real passion of Ben's, as I accidentally found out. But having found it out, it's now become a mission of my own, to the point where Ben is now the second most hated male in my family after me, because my children now blame Ben for all my actions. So I hope you're pleased with yourself, Ben.
Yeah.
We'll move on and come to that at the end. So let's start off. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Ben Jewell. I'm the regional manager for Bradstone, which we're now a member of Holcim, which recently changed. Holcim is a global business. It's based in Switzerland, 70 countries across the world, with about 70,000 employees as well. So we're making some real changes in the UK. What all that looks like to our customers is new email addresses, is new sustainability credentials, a lot of new branding. Some of the overall old aggregate industries brands will be are being removed as we speak. But what that looks like to our customers really is you've still got the same people, you've still got the same products. But yeah, there are some real big changes for us internally with Holcim.
So have Holcim owned aggregate industries for some time?
Yes, they have. Yeah. So what's happening now really is the Holcim brand is removing the previous aggregate industries brand.
So we'll see aggregate industries move away over a period of time.
Slowly over time. Obviously, these things are for such a big business as aggregate industries. It is going to take a number of years to figure out.
Yeah.
We've got branding, logos. We've got websites, and we've got vehicles out on the road that all need to be sorted and rebranded. So it's going to take a number of years. But certainly the initial impact into the market, has now already happened.
Okay. Will we see any change to Bradstone? Because probably Bradstone's the best known face of aggregate industries in the builders merchants world.
No, so there's no plans initially to change anything with the Bradstone brand. There's a lot of brand equity in Bradstone, a lot of investment that's happened over the last few years. So for me, there's certainly no move internally for that. And we believe there's too much brand equity in Bradstone to do anything with it.
Yeah, okay. So that's good. So we understand what's happening at Holcim and Bradstone. But obviously the target for the episode is Poacher Turned Gamekeeper. So can you just run through your personal history so that we can just understand how you've got a foot in both camp and can be branded as the Poacher Turned Gamekeeper?
That's your brand, by the way, not mine. So I did 12 years at Travis Perkins. I was introduced to the industry by my uncle, who was in the tiling business at the time. He said, "Have you heard about Travis Perkins? Builders merchant?" I said, "What's a builders merchant?" No idea whatsoever. He gave me a flyer that was about a management trainee scheme.
yeah.
Applied for it and got the job. So never really looked back. I've done pretty much every role that there was available.
Was that training scheme where you'd start in a warehouse or in a yard?
Yeah. So I did 9 months in the yard.
Yeah.
I did 9 months in sales. I went around. I'm based in Shropshire, so I worked in every branch in Shropshire. So I've worked in all those branches at Travis Perkins in Shropshire. Eventually made my way up into a management position and decided actually quite quickly that I thought, well, I'd like to think, I hope people say that I'm pretty good at selling stuff. So I decided rather than going down a managerial route, because I've never wanted to manage people. Never should have said that, because certainly managing people.
Because you've got a team.
Because I got a team today and have done for a very long time. But yeah, I really wanted to go out into selling. So I took a big leap out of branch straight into a key account manager's position. I looked after 13 million quid's worth of business straight away for TP. It was a big job, and I flew and spread my wings. I did 4 years out on the road as a key account manager for TP. Won awards in TP for those years that I was out on the road. So I did really, really well.
When you said you started and got a management position, a branch manager's position.
No, I was assistant manager, but I was very close to being a branch manager, but decided that it really wasn't for me and that I wanted to go down the sales route.
It's funny that, because the normal route that we see is sales first, then assistant manager and manager, and you've done it.
I've done it the other way around.
What was it that turned you off management, and what was it that appealed to that made sales appeal?
I'll be honest, I think for me it was because I was still young. I'll be honest, I think it was emotional intelligence more than anything.
Right.
I think I was at that point where I was like, I want to go out and have some fun, and go sell some stuff, and that for me was more exciting than being in the branch
looking after people.
I ran alongside the branch manager at the time, a branch with 30 employees. It was a big old branch, one of our flagship branches. But it's certainly for me the bit that I was enjoying the most was selling stuff.
Okay.
So quite quickly I was like, no, I want to go down this route. And TP supported me and threw me straight in the deep end. Didn't go out into an external reps role. I went straight into a key account manager role. Which was a massive, massive jump and big shoes to fill as well from the previous incumbent. But yeah, I had loads of fun for 4 years. I then went and followed a really inspirational sales leader I used to work for, Carl. I went to go and work for Geldwen. So they were a timber windows, doors manufacturer.
Why the switch then? So what was
the switch? Was literally to follow inspirational sales leadership. I wanted to learn more and more and more from the sales leader that I'd had at TP.
And he moved to
Geldwen. And I wanted to follow him because I wanted to learn more.
It's interesting that you talk about following people, because when we're talking about builders merchanting, we often talk about our customers. They trade with Ben at whatever branch rather than dealing with our timber, for example. So it's interesting you playing that out as well in your
absolutely. It was a real big part of my career. So I learned so much in that short space of time where I'd had that real sales leadership and coaching and developing and mentoring. I quite rightly, me and others around me were flourishing in the roles. So when I found out that Carl was moving, I decided to follow him.
What were the things that made his leadership inspirational?
It was more around the challenge. It was more around constructive feedback and coaching. It was not only getting out into the field himself and coaching, developing his team, but also his team's team.
Okay.
So there's some really good stuff happening, and I just wanted to be part of that journey, even if I just got snippets of it. I wanted to follow that and be part of it. So I then went to work directly for Carl. So I was now merchant to manufacturer. So I went and had some fun years at Geldwen at the time. in manufacturing. We then managed COVID, which was mental. Everyone's sitting in their room looking at their bedroom doors going, I might replace that door. So some of the most challenging years of my career so far during COVID, managing a team through that as well, because I very quickly took on a team there. So I went initially to be a national key account manager, then moved on into managing a team, and managing a team through probably one of the toughest times of our modern lives, which was interesting. I then went into underfloor heating as a national sales manager for an underfloor heating brand linked back to TP, because I was trying to move my way back into TP Group, because I had a role that I was aiming for in TP, which is a sales director. And initially a sales manager and a sales director. That was my vision for the future. That lasted a year. They were sold, and then I moved back to Travis Perkins Green and Gold. Took on a sales team there, and I ran the best performing sales team in the country for 2 years there. It was some of my two most favourite years of my career to date so far. Were really instilling the stuff that had been instilled in me into my team, and us and all of my team flourishing and with that. So it was really, really great times.
And then what happened?
I then moved on to Bradstone. I then moved on to Bradstone,
and that was just obviously not trying to over push you through personal issues around it. It was just for a fresh challenge.
No, so TP were going through restructuring.
Okay.
So TP were going through some restructuring, and unfortunately my position was
okay. So it was you left because of redundancy.
Was no more. My position was no more, along with many other sales leaders across the country. So there's quite a few of us that were caught up in that. But left on really good terms. That TP are now a customer. I've still got many relationships in TP all over the years. We've left on great terms. I was blown away by some of the investment that was going to be happening in the Bradstone brand. So when I was job searching, I met with Neil, my boss now, and Neil pitched to me what was happening with Bradstone and the journey we were going on. And quite rightly, I've seen that journey come into fruition.
Did you know at that point? Did you know about the Holcim change eventually? And
no, but I knew about all the brand change, which anyone that's been close to the Bradstone brand over the years has seen the huge investment that's gone through the Bradstone brand with a new website and new brochure, all these things that Neil were telling me about, and has all come to fruition in the last year. So I've had a really exciting year at Bradstone.
Right. You've been at Bradstone for a year?
A year, yeah, just over a year.
Right, so I think in that introduction, you have properly established your credentials as able to talk as a merchant and as as a manufacturer. And I'm really looking forward in a few minutes to talk to you about how you saw the other one when you're in it. And I should just caveat this to anybody who's listening, be you merchant, be you supplier. Ben has been quite reticent about this, saying, "Oh, I don't. Can I be honest?" And so I've really had to push him to do it. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
And I'm sure everybody will take it in the right spirit, because the aim of it is to help both. It's to help merchants be better, and it's to help suppliers be better. And it saves me having to say it and me putting my foot in it. You can put your foot in it. So it seems like a really good. It seems like a really good deal. So before we move on to that, we can't have you coming in working for Holcim, Bradstone, a member of the Holcim group. I've written it down. I'm trying my best to get the branding right. I know how important branding is for all you marketeers out there. So we'll just talk a little bit about landscaping. So what are the forecasts for the landscaping season this year?
So, I mean, for us, what we're seeing is a really challenging start to the season. There's a lot of the customer feedback we're getting is that it's been a slow start.
The weather.
Yeah, weather was challenging. Demand seems a little flat. However, I think, as ever, we've got to have the optimism to grow and drive the season forward. So we are carrying on having really positive conversations with customers.
Yeah.
We are focused on delivery. We are focused on driving volumes alongside our customers, and really trying to make a difference. But it has been a challenging start. So and as we all know in merchanting, it is challenging times at the moment. But I think for us, we've still got a load of positivity around the season and driving the season forward.
Have you got a market growth figure in mind that you could share?
No.
No, okay, that's fair enough. I only ask because a lot of merchants are doing forecasting, particularly the ones who run from April through to March, and so that whole conversation that we're having in our business around, it's going to be another difficult year. Is the volume growth? Is it price inflation? Where you're going to get your growth? It's just it's just really interesting to us. But you see another tough year.
Yeah.
No magic answers to it. It's just.
No magic answers. I think some of the things we have seen is there's still quite considerable demand from our assured installers. So if I was to give any advice to people watching in the merchanting, is stay really close to your installers, because there does seem to be a group of customers out there that are willing to be invested in their gardens.
Okay.
We've got some research that we've done, but prior to the season, around that, and I believe the research was something along the lines of 80% of people over the next 3 years say they're going to do something with their gardens and invest in their gardens, and it was a large catchment of consumers as well. So there is demand out there. But for us in this industry, and for you guys as merchants, it's about how do you capture that. So my advice out there is stay close to your installers, the people that are putting these products in. Ask the right questions and find out what they're doing now, what they're doing next, and get the details you need and get an inquiry.
So again, it's a lot like we're talking within our business. There'll be no magic this year. It's get the basics right. Good service, positivity, proactivity.
Absolutely.
Stay close. And,
it's gonna be tough, but we've got to stay positive. And like you say, you've got to do the basics right.
Are there any trends in terms of product? For example, how are you seeing porcelain this year?
Yeah, so porcelain's still going really strong, as well as stones. So in the Indian sandstone still going strong as well. We have over the years seen a decline in concrete, which is the core of our business. So we have seen a decline in those decorative concrete ranges, and a drive towards porcelain for all the benefits that porcelain has. But the core of our business, 70% of our business is still concrete. So there's still a huge amount of concrete volumes that we're going through. So for me, yes, we're seeing that drive in porcelain coming through, but we've still got to focus on our core market too, which is 70% of the concrete volumes that are going through.
And that concrete volume is not what you would call decorative, though, is it?
There's decorative mixed in with flag and curb and commercial projects and things like that. So it's the whole range, CVP.
Where's the growth area in decorative concrete then? Because as a merchant, we're just conditioned now when it comes to gardens and decorative to go natural stone porcelain.
Yeah,
I think other than a cheap slab, concrete in terms of decorative is not really on our agendas. Are we missing a trick?
So for me, I think there's again, the data that we had was saying that there was going to be 80% of people were going to do something in their garden and have a look at their garden. 35% of people are going to redo their driveway. So I believe there's an area of focus that we can have as a business, as well as as our customers can, around CVP, around driveway products, and there's some serious conversations to be had with customers around, if they're having a tarmac drive, for example, how can you sell the benefits of having a block paved drive instead, and what's the cost? Is there a cost saving? And working out ways to windle yourself in to get an inquiry.
Yeah, okay.
But I certainly see there's some areas of growth there. Other areas of growth, we've just launched a new Piccolo range, which is a slim set pavior, to try and grasp that demand. Mm-hmm. So I think for me that would be an area that I would probably convince people to have focus on, but again, to think a little bit bigger, to ask better questions, to try and get that maybe if it's a tarmac drive, maybe you convince someone to have it block paved instead.
Okay. This might be too broad a question.
Okay.
What are the good questions you wished more merchants would ask?
Ooh. So, I mean, so again, if we're going to go slightly into my history with merchanting, it's all about asking the right questions, as it is with any sales role. You know, I encouraged my branches when I was in a regional sales manager, you know, and the branches that were aligned to me, encouraged all my branches and all my team about now and next. And I did touch on it a little bit earlier. And for me, it's about asking your customers, what's on now, what's on next, getting an understanding of what they're doing. Because what you'll find most of the time is there'll be a great conversation happening on the counter, a little bit of banter and all that. But actually the customer will probably come in, ask for what he wants, get what he wants, and get out there. You know, well, what value are you adding? You know, and what you understanding about that customer's business, and you know, understanding the wider picture. For me, it's about what you're doing now, what you're doing next, and anyone can ask those two questions.
That's good advice, though. I've not heard of that term now next, but obviously you know the concept of it. That's good. I like that.
What you're doing now, what you're doing next.
Okay. Right, final part on landscaping then. So you did a presentation to Howard Timber when we did our landscaping launch day.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because you gave 5 trends for the year, which is a different way of looking at things. We look at things as stone and porcelain.
Yep.
But the consumer doesn't look at it as stone and porcelain. They look at it as their garden, their living space.
Absolutely.
What they're gonna do with it. If I were to read them out one at a time to you, could you give a quick short précis on each of them?
Yeah.
So the 5 trends you mentioned to us was the cottage garden.
Yeah. So cottage garden is traditional, warm feeling, warm colours, oldie worldy sort of style houses, that sort of thing. Okay. So that's a cottage garden.
And I'm these are clearly all very marketing terms. Well done.
Oh yeah.
Well done, marketeers.
Not
like
me.
These. I'm assuming these are driven by customer research.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And retail customer research.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine the trade coming and asking for an edible garden.
No.
So let's move to edible garden.
Edible garden is, as it says on the tin, it is a garden that is edible. So yeah, so it's for people that are that are looking to grow their own vegetables, that are growing their own herbs, and it's about what products can align with that.
So I'm assuming that's around beds and planters and
planters. Absolutely.
The indoor-outdoor garden.
Yeah, so indoor, outdoor, that started with COVID. Very much, this is really about bringing the two spaces together as such. That would probably be the best way to put it. Rather than creating two separate spaces, it's more about bringing the two together.
So that would be like having the same porcelain on the patio as you've got in your conservatory.
Yeah,
and it all just runs through.
Or having open access to indoor and out and bringing it through.
Okay.
And in fact, bringing indoor out as well. So that's kitchens in the garden.
Okay. Seating sofas, seating areas.
Yeah.
Okay. A play garden.
Play gardens all about the kids. So it's making sure that you've got a space that's right for the family, or a space that's right for the kids too, and a safe place for the kids.
Okay. And then the final one, a greener garden.
Yeah, it's a greener garden. It's all about the green spaces, all about utilising green spaces, and as well as an opportunity for greener products there as well, for people that have got a focus on sustainability and the environment.
What kind of products sit in that portfolio for you?
So yeah, we've got our Eco Evolve products, and but actually a lot of our products are lower in carbon, and have got good sustainability credentials. Okay. Obviously excluding porcelain and sandstone, which obviously comes from the other part of the world.
I'm assuming being part of a massive PLC, then there's a lot of focus on sustainability.
Yeah, it's one of Holcim's strengths. So there's a real sustainability lens from Holcim. We've got a lot of products already in that category, but there'll be a lot of focus over the coming years on that. Me personally, this is my personal opinion, I personally see a resurgence in concrete coming over the years. But that will have to be driven by legislation, I think, personally. So what I do feel that we as consumers in the UK within the landscaping industry, there's a big focus. I mean, consumers as in not the merchants. I mean, the actual consumers. That we're allowing porcelain and sandstone to be coming halfway across the world. And being brought into the UK when we've got products that can be made really high quality in the UK, more sustainably, better for the environment. And one of the key things that I've seen happen last year with the RHS shows, the flower shows, every time I was at one of the events, I had someone asking me about the sustainability credentials of the product that was laid in front of me. And half the time that was a porcelain, where I'd have to explain that it was from the other side of the world. The other half of the time, I could explain that it was a product that was manufactured in Hull Ward in Derbyshire, and the aggregates came 30 minutes down the road.
Could you see a time then in, say, 10 years where we're not laying porcelain and natural stone?
I don't think so. I think there's always going to be a market for it, and that market's come and it's strong, and there's loads of benefits versus concrete, and there's again, porcelain versus sandstone, there's benefits too. But I do see a resurgence of concrete coming. But I think that's going to have to be legislation led. So it's going to be the overall market aligning to it, house builders aligning to it, and it's got, for me, it's got to come at some point, and I believe there is going to be a resurgence.
Okay. I meant to ask this a little bit earlier. How's the Red Sea at the moment? And availability and delivery?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're not seeing too many issues. Prices stabilized a little bit. We have got healthy stocks on the ground. Us as Bradstone, we have got no issues with stock availability whatsoever.
Okay.
We've got plenty of stock on the ground, plenty of porcelain, plenty of sandstone. Exactly the same for all the concrete ranges too.
We're not hearing any more talk at the minute about terrorism and
not at the moment.
Ships being hijacked and attacked. Everything's quieting down.
Everything's quiet on that front, yeah. But who knows? Who knows? Okay. As we all know, if anyone attached to landscaping, one slight change in some environment somewhere across the world,
one stray missile, and we can all be struggling.
So
great, right. I think we've done landscaping.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the key point of today.
Okay.
Your views on when you were a merchant, what you thought suppliers were like.
Yeah.
And now you're a supplier, what you think merchants are like. And we do this with all positive intent to help both parties. So I want you to be honest, be straight. I'm going to give my views. It's not aimed at anybody. We're not going to name names. We're not going to.
I was going to drop in a few, but
no, we'll keep away from that. So it's done with good intent, slightly tongue in cheek, but it's just yours and my view on how both parties can help each other. Okay, so as a merchant, how did you see suppliers?
So I'll give you two views, if you don't mind. So when I was in branch, I struggled. We would often have people turning up without an appointment. We were a really busy branch. We had some supplier external representatives that would come in, drop off a brochure, say hello, jump back in the car. We had some really strong relationships. So I had a bit of a mixed bag, but I was young. A lot of time I was just having fun with these people that were coming in. And they'd drop a brochure off, and I might take what they've got to say and learn from it, or I might not and just carry on. So that was one experience. The other experience I've had was as a regional sales manager within TP, running a team. I looked after 60 million quid's worth of business. So the RSMs at TP were influential people. I had some really strong relationships with suppliers, and then also ones that were not so strong. But my biggest frustration and by the way, those relationships were often with like a national account manager or something like that from a manufacturer. my biggest frustration is that I had a team, a really proactive sales team, that I never felt the suppliers really grasped hold of. And what I mean by that is, the suppliers would never really see the true value of a really strong relationship, and would never sort of grasp the opportunity that was in front of them. So to put it into perspective, 60 million quid sitting with me, my key account manager would have 13 million quid, and so on and so forth, and that would rain down to the ASRs and the territory managers. So these guys had lots of business, that they were doing in their area, and I just never saw the engagement level that I wished. And like I say, this isn't all suppliers, but overall, there's certainly a good couple of suppliers out there, some that are now competitors, that were strong in those areas. But I just never thought that they saw the size of the opportunity there. And I found that frustrating. And so we often had meetings, myself and the regional director at the time. We often had meetings where we had some great engagement conversations. People would come in that were really prepared and have a great presentation, talk through a load of added value stuff. But then we also had people that would turn up and pull up some numbers and talk through the performance. I'm just sitting there going, well, I already know what this is performing like. You already know what this is performing like. What are we going to do together to drive business?
Yeah, okay.
And that was a frustrating thing for me. Is it's almost like it was a tick box, and it's like for me, you've got to synergize those two relationships together and then drive growth together, or else it's pointless. So that was my frustration as an RSM. I had a really, really strong team, really, really engaged team, that could go out and do some real numbers. And supplier disconnect. And I was thinking, Christ, if I could put a really strong supplier engaged, if you flip that on its head and went, if I could put that really strong team in a supplier or a manufacturer with that team and put those two together, you're unstoppable.
Dreamland. Yeah.
You're unstoppable.
Yep.
But I've never really seen that.
So to reflect that back then.
Yeah.
As a merchant, you had a mix of suppliers, some good, but the majority average, and there were a lot of missed opportunities.
A lot of missed opportunities, yeah.
And I'd echo, as a merchant, I've only done merchanting. I would absolutely reflect that. We cry out for suppliers who grab us and want to drive things with us, on the basis that we've probably got 500-600 suppliers.
Yep.
We have a lot of suppliers going about, and our category managers and our branch teams are always busy on all kinds of things. So we gravitate to the ones that are either really business critical to us because of volume, or to the ones who give to you and are positive and proactive. So I fully echo that mix of things there. So if suppliers are listening to us, we're crying out to be grabbed and dragged along kicking and screaming, because
there's an opportunity right here.
That's my selling pitch to every supplier listening to this. Come and grab us. Come and be positive. Come and be at the top of our list of people banging on the door. So that's interesting. So now, how are you seeing merchants, knowing what you know of suppliers as a merchant?
Yeah. So just to start with, one of my big passions is actually to try and get what I just said around, getting that blend right. So for me now, on the other side, I'm trying to now build a really strong team that's out there in the face of customers, really driving to win, really trying to synergize with their customers, go out and see their customers, the customer's customer as such, go out and see developers, go out and see installers, really drive business together. But then I need to find the other team, i.e. my old team. I need to find that energy and drive them from the merchants, and to give some insight into the things that happen. We've got a supplier and merchant joint days out. We get cancellations same day. This has happened. I could could pull off in the last 2 weeks 5 or 6 times that it's happened when we book these days.
Do you think you're sorry to interrupt?
Yeah.
Do you think you're judging when you judge based on your experience of your team when you're at TP?
Yeah.
Is that a fair judgment, or did you just have a mega team at that point?
I don't know. I suppose it's a really good question. I think I did have a good team, and it took a while to fill, but we did have a very good team. I think for me, what my experience was, I fell into sales.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people that are in the sales arena fall into sales. I fell into sales myself. So one of my biggest frustrations that I see personally is that to be a good sales team, you have to have a sales leader that is willing to be in the coalface, coaching and developing their people in the field. So I think that is often where the fall down is. It's running a sales team is a busy job. You've got numbers to hit. You've got people that need managing, people that need coaching, and that often that coaching and development piece just falls away a little bit. Often you find as a sales leader too is that you'll be taken in to sort something out or sort a meeting out, rather than the lovely bit is where you want to go out with your team and you want to go out and and experience what that means like, and then giving them constructive feedback off the back of it. So I think, you going back to your question, I think, I might be being a bit too critical. But for me, I'll go back to what I said before. There's such a huge opportunity for the two teams to synergize together. And it's frustrating when it doesn't happen, because I know for firsthand that, Christ, if you can get a manufacturing sales team or a supplier sales team and a merchant sales team punching and synergize together, the opportunities are endless.
So also when I was kind of supporting your view of suppliers, and I was saying it can be a little bit underwhelming what we get, what we feel we get back.
Yes.
Do you now think, now you're looking at it through suppliers' eyes, are you at times underwhelmed with what you get from merchants in terms of focus and drive and sales skills?
Yes is the answer, but not forgetting, I know the reasons why. So I know, and again, from being there and doing it myself, I know that that merchants are pulled pillar to post. I know that they are busy places. I know that time is short. So all of that. So the answer is yes. However, I know the reasons why. So for me, it's about how a supplier can create enough value to get their attention, grab that attention, and then go together. And that's the hard bit. And that's
interesting, because my role as commercial director is to work in procurement.
Yeah.
And when we meet suppliers with category managers, we say, we need you, Mr. Supplier, to keep your brand in front of us, to keep us focused on you. Because if we're not careful, once you've left this room, you've perhaps got a week of our attention while we do what we say we're going to do, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. And if you don't keep in front of us, over time, you're just going to gradually fall through the down the list, and we lose attention to you. I think it was a great point you made about, yes, you think merchants can be underwhelming, but you get it.
I'll get it 100%.
So that's good that you see that, because you are right. Our guys on the road have got customers, they've got branches, they've got lots of supplies, lots of stuff to go at. It is difficult.
Yeah.
How do we make the best of it for both of us?
I think for me, it's about one thing that I've been focused on with my team is really just trying to get the information they need, and then to lead and run with it. And if that means dragging someone along on the journey, then that means dragging someone along the journey. But if that person's also willing to come, then win-win. We're going to win together. So often, the team have been sitting down and having a chat about the ledger. Right, which customers can I go and focus on for you? What could I help you with? How
do you go about finding that kind of person? Because that's That's like the magic answer, the magic question is, how do you find that person who's got that, that drive and that mindset of not letting the knockbacks of somebody cancelling on you the day before, knocking your confidence and knocking your drive? How do you go about finding those?
I mean, it's tough. You've got to have resilience, haven't you? Ultimately, you've got to have resilience. If you're going to get, you are going to constantly get knocked back in these roles, and times are changing quite quickly, and things are, the landscape is ever changing. So you've got to be resilient. You've also got to have the adaptability as well to change quickly, because if you don't adapt, you won't win. It's hard trying to find that, but I think for me, it's about the personality, it's about the resilience, it's about understanding what makes those people tick, and then driving that person forward to go and have those quality conversations, and like I say, and to keep going, because with that resilience, if you're going to get a knockback, okay, so if that person's knocked you back, are they going to knock you back again? If they do knock you back again, okay, maybe try once more. If they, okay, right, on to the next one, find the next one.
So resilience is a great trait, isn't it, across anything that any of us do in any walk of life. What have you got another trait or two that you think is critical to finding that kind of salesperson that you've described?
Yeah, so I mentioned personality before. Whenever I talk about salespeople, personality and having the right personality is big for me. I think one thing that gets thrown in, and I'm going to say it, is people say people buy from people. Well, believe it or not, that's not the case. People buy with emotion. People actually buy from the way they are made to feel, rather than from the actual person. So people buy from people, in my opinion. Again, my opinion only, but that's been drummed into me over the years. It's a load of rubbish. They buy with emotion. They buy because it's how that person actually makes them feel.
I like this.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a psychology lesson when we started.
So it's about how they make them feel. So if you've got the right personality, and you can understand someone else's personality and someone else's emotion, and then you find out how to make them tick and how to sell to them, then that's how, then that. So for me, it's a little bit more complex than it's a little bit more complex.
Right. I'm going to pivot us here at this point.
Okay.
Because I think I can keep asking you questions about what do you think of merchants and vice versa.
Probably going to get killed anyway for this or something.
I think we've done a reasonable job here. We're both underwhelming at times.
Yeah.
And the bizarre thing is we both want the same thing.
Yeah.
So why there's a disconnect when we both want the same thing is a serious question to everybody listening to this. Because we all want to sell more.
Yeah.
We've all got expensive sales teams.
Yeah.
That if they work together and if we had better relationships, we would inevitably win.
Yeah.
So we're going to stop there on the supplier, merchant, supplier.
Yeah.
We're both a little bit underwhelming. We've both got things to do. We're going to move on to our final phase of our conversation around social media.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I met with Ben 6-8 weeks ago, and we were just nattering before we started, and I had a quick rant about the behaviour of my youngest son that I was putting down to too much phone use.
Yeah.
You gave me the most bizarre look, kind of started shaking your head.
Yeah.
And I went, why are you looking at me like that? And you said, don't get me started on phones and social media.
Yeah.
Well, what a most ridiculous thing to say, because as soon as you say to somebody, don't talk to me about it, the first thing you're going to do is go, tell us all about it. So we then had an hour on social media, the influence on young people, of TikTok, of Snapchat, of all of those things, which has sent me on a personal rabbit hole, down a personal rabbit hole which has led to changes in our household with my kids, and very difficult, as you'd said to me, to make change.
Yeah.
But when you start looking and researching, it's incredibly scary what you see and read and hear. And the impact of change has blown my socks off.
Yeah.
I can't believe the change that's occurred having taken TikTok away from one of my children. So it's quite a journey. You're very passionate about it.
Right.
You've had some personal issues with it in your family, which I don't want to go into today.
Yeah.
Because that's personal to you, and you were kind enough to share to me, but that's for you.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about it. You know a lot about it. The stuff you've told me has really helped me. You told me to read a book called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt
or Haidt. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Which is a really good book, and it's terrifying to any parent who's listening to this.
Yeah.
The book talks about the impact of social media on children. It talks about taking away a childhood that anybody kind of 30, 35 plus would have lived.
Yeah.
And instead of developing social skills and the like, and how to deal with problems and failure and not building resilience and living a life on a screen is really impacting children and damaging them.
Yeah.
And I'm going a long way around the houses, but I'm now coming back to it. You've just been talking to me about your thoughts on how people sell well, about people, about relationships. I love that thing you said about people buy from people. They don't buy from people. They buy on emotion.
Yep.
So you've talked about personality, you've talked about all emotion, all the things that social media and children is being sapped away as we speak every time they open TikTok on their phone. I have rambled.
Yeah.
But can you just give me your thoughts on social media, particularly of TikTok and Snapchat, the impact that you've seen without going into detail?
Yeah.
I don't need to cover that, and just share it, because it's been such a journey of discovery for me that I think it should be shared, because I think it's something we don't talk about. One thing that the anxious generation talks about: we overprotect offline, we underprotect online.
Correct.
In fact, we don't protect at all online.
Most people don't.
And I just wanted to share it whilst we're doing this, because we've done this podcast now. This is, I think, our 12th episode we've done. We've done a lot of stuff on builders merchanting, but I think we've now earned the right a bit to go a little bit off and kind of recognise the fact that everybody listening to us, whilst they're part of the building materials industry, we're also human beings.
Absolutely.
We're also people. We've all got kids.
Yeah.
And actually, the fact that our salespeople need more personality, more emotion, more ability to speak to people.
Yep.
At the same time as TikTok and social media is sapping all of those skills away.
Yeah.
We've got a skills shortage heading down the line very, very quickly. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think, quite rightly, as you mentioned, I've had, lots of challenges with social media, and I was after I read a lot. In fact, I don't read a lot. Sorry, I should say. I listen a lot. I drive a lot for a living. I listen a lot, and I was after finding out more about how I could adjust and do things differently. So this book came up, and then quite funny. A few weeks ago, we both found out that it gone onto the High Performance podcast as well. So bringing it right to the forefront, whereas this book had only got a few hundred reviews at the time. It's starting to see maybe come into the forefront. So what I see is a generation that has potentially got some serious challenges ahead. And you're quite right. I've mentioned emotion, I've mentioned personality. That emotional intelligence is really important. I think for how I see this is a journey into what our future sales teams could look like. I see an increased anxiety, increased challenges around mental health, and all down to a screen-based life. you could probably guess that I'm not a fan of social media. So, I have LinkedIn for work purposes only, and I don't have any other form of social media. And only up until recently, I've gone on to WhatsApp. So I'm pretty strong against it, and it's because I see the damage that is being caused. And when you actually start looking into the figures, it's scary. So what I'm seeing is a young generation being brought up with increased problems with anxiety, like I say, increased problems with mental health, games that are open to abuse, and to some real scary stuff going on in the online world. So that for me is a major concern as people are coming through into my profession, and it is, I'm really proud of my profession as being a salesperson. I'm concerned that we're going to have skills coming through where we've got people that haven't got those finer skills, the tone to deliver a good conversation, the right behavior, eye contact, all those things that are really important to a salesperson and to a sales process. How to understand the person that's sitting opposite you. If you're stuck in your phone 24/7, if you're stuck on social media, living a life online, how are you going to engage in a conversation and be able to sell to someone?
Yeah.
So for me, those are the bits that I'm thinking, not only of my personal challenge, I'm thinking, future generations in my profession. I think they're going to have some real challenges.
You've got two young children.
Yeah. One older.
What's your stance with the use of phones and social media for your two younger children? How old are they?
So I've got Lily, who's 10,
Yep.
and I've got Mila, who's 6, and then I've got Bethany, who's older, who's 17.
Okay. So with the two younger ones, what's going to be your outlook on?
Yeah, so all content's restricted, all social media is restricted. They both have a tablet each, which they get 45 minutes a day on. If you look into the recommended screen time, they've got recommended screen time. We don't have any games consoles in the household. We are very lucky and very fortunate to have two ponies, so they spend a lot of time outdoors, which takes up their day, so they don't even think about going on a games console anyway, because they just want to go and spend time with the ponies. So we are lucky there. But yeah, my approach with them is Lily has just had her smartphone ready for secondary school. Again, that is fully restricted. Contacts are restricted. She can only speak to people that are signed off by mum and dad. No one else can contact her. She's got restricted access to the internet. No gaming apps, no nothing. So screen time is completely reduced. So she has a phone that will call and text her grandparents and her mum and dad, and that is it. And that will, and as the book suggests, over time, and the presentation I sent you, over time, that you're supposed to slowly release those restrictions to allow them to be to have basically more risk in the online world.
Yeah.
So that's the way I've approached it. It is completely like way out there if you speak to most parents. That's the way I've played it. Because of lived experiences, and I believe by doing that, I'm going to protect them moving forward. But the difference is after reading The Anxious Generation, I do the really, really, like I say, way left field, way right field probably, restrictions online, but I send Lily down to the shop on her own to go and get a couple of bits of groceries for us, and I let her go out and play with her friends, and I let her go and do things down the horse on her own and experience things in the outdoors on her own. So and that's only by reading the book really, and start to reflect on that. But like I said, for me, it's really important that we all start talking about it a little bit more, because the interesting bit is very similar to the conversation that me and you've had. When you start talking about it, you have someone grasp onto you and go, I'm experiencing exactly the same problem. How, what, where, why, how? Yeah. It's really interesting when you start opening up. I'm quite open with the things that have happened and the learnings that I've had. But I really needed someone, and that's why I went to the books. I really need someone to guide me in the right direction.
I hope people listen to this. I'm not taking this as preaching from the both of us. It's very not the case. But I wanted to bring it into the conversation because of the journey I've been on, because of accidentally talking to you.
Yeah.
And I would have classed myself as pretty tech, social media savvy. But talking to you has given me a total about phase to the point where on Sunday this weekend, I took TikTok off the phones of both of my children. And to do it, I had to take Twitter, which is the only social media I followed. I've taken that off my phone. And my kids couldn't believe that I was willing to take Twitter off my phone.
Yeah.
For them to take TikTok off. And it's only 3 days since that's happened. But in my youngest, which was the one that I'd had some problems with, that started the conversation off with you, already I can see changes in his behaviours. Now, whether it's coincidence or fluke, proof will be in the pudding over the coming days, but it's really made a mark on me, the difference that's come from him. So I wanted to bring this up and talk to you because you led the conversation. I wanted to thank you for sharing, because you were very honest, very straight in what you shared with me.
Yeah.
You shared stuff with me that you didn't have to, because it was very personal and not nice. And I thank you for that, because if I've not heard it, I'd have probably dismissed it. The Anxious Generation book is excellent. We will post the name of it in our in the show notes. And if anybody's got any concerns about their children and what's happening, the book is very worth listening to, reading or audio booking.
Yeah.
And equally, the author Jonathan Haidt, however you say it, was on the High Performance podcast a few weeks ago. It's an hour's podcast episode, but it's brilliant. It really does summarize the book. Yeah. If you don't like reading, you don't listen to the full book, that's worth looking at. And again, if we're allowed to put that into the show notes. And I'll just scare you all to finish very quickly. You very kindly sent me a presentation that you've got from a company called EduThing, who are an IT services for education business. I'm assuming the presentation was something that's aimed at schools and aimed to go to parents.
Yeah, that's why I've got it from the school.
Of schools. There's some quite shocking stuff in there, and I'll flick through. There's a couple of bullet points around 8 to 12-year-olds. 77% of 8 to 12-year-olds say their parents can't see what they're doing online, and 83% can use devices in their bedrooms, which is a problem because they can do what they want without any monitoring. 38% of 8 to 12-year-olds have gamed with strangers online. 65% were contacted by a stranger during an online game. And 55% of 8 to 12-year-olds did not tell a parent, adult, when bothered by harmful content or unsolicited contact. When it comes to teens, it's even more scary. In a class of 15-year-olds, 75% had seen a beheading video. 79% of teens have seen violent porn before they're 18. And half of girls 16 plus have been sent explicit content of someone they know.
They know, yeah.
So it's terrible stuff. So if any of you out there are still listening to us and you have concerns, start looking into it. Have a look at The Anxious Generation. We'll post it, and good luck with it. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
I'm going to finish off with our usual quickfire questions. So back to serious building materials work. The first question is favourite and most difficult part of your job. Well, favourite is going to be sell.
Yeah, selling. But I suppose actually the most favourite part of my job now is actually coaching and developing the team to get them to sell.
Brilliant. That's excellent.
I'll get more value out of that now.
Oh, you're getting old, aren't you? When are you getting more value out of other people's success than your own? Oh, Ben, what have you become? Difficult part of your job?
I think for me, it's right now it's market. It's market. I think I would love it to be a little bit more buoyant, so we could all go out and have a bit more fun.
Thank you. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I'm not sure I can repeat it.
Please do moderate it.
Just
Well, the language must be
no, I
horrific.
can't,
in
no, I
the,
can't say it.
in
I
the-
can't
in
say
the
it. I
chat.
can't. It's not even repeatable.
Right.
It's
Well, I'm
not
interested in
repeatable.
that after
I'll
we
tell
turn
you
the
after.
cameras on. The second best piece of advice you've ever been given.
Just to, I think, I was told just to, when I started my career, I was just told to keep driving and just keep moving forward, and I always had that sort of mantra: is keep driving, keep going forward, and just keep doing what you can do. And I've always followed that mantra.
And one final one. It's the big one.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer, merchant or supplier?
Oh, both.
What a cop out. But what a good way of not alienating 50% of what you do. Ben, thank you for the time.
No problem at all.
That's been superb. I've really enjoyed
Vice versa.
talking to you. To our audience, thank you for listening. I hope you found it interesting. Don't let social media freak you out. If you've liked what you've seen, like and subscribe, leave us a review. It'd be much appreciated. And if you could share the podcast with somebody else who you think might be interested, that'd be amazing. So thank you all for listening. We'll see you again in the future. Bye-bye. Thank you.